to the Happiness Telesummit. This is Erica Glessing, and I am your host, and I have a beautiful guest with me today. She is the author of The Energy of Expansion, and she wrote a beautiful piece in that book, and she is a beautiful access consciousness facilitator. Welcome, Melanie.
Hi, thank you so much, Erica. I'm so grateful to be here.
I know, it's like, what fun could we have?
Exactly.
So I'm just going to tell you a little bit more. She's a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness and the Right Voice for You Breakthrough Facilitator with 12 years of study and transformation and empowerment. She's a walking testimonial of our incredible capacity to change and transform using Access Consciousness tools, coupled with a relentless desire to live full, never give up, and she has also a beautiful relationship with a horse. For those equestrians with me, because I know we play hard together, Melanie has a few stories about that as well up her sleeve for us today. We're just going to kind of be in that space of what is possible around energy, expansion, happiness, and really just shifting and letting more in. So, Melanie, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's always so interesting to be introduced.
Do you feel like you're on stage?
Yeah.
Let's give a round of applause for Melanie Clampit, that fearless one.
Wouldn't it be kind of fun to have someone who, like, when you're in a cafe or something somewhere in the world and someone said, hi, like, how are you? Who are you? Someone stepped in and said, well, I'd like to introduce Melanie Clampit. She's an Access Consciousness certified facilitator. And they did your whole spiel. Wouldn't that be hilarious? Just the grocery store, cafes, on dates.
Melanie, I love just having watched you over the past, even like in the past year, like all the changes that have happened for you in your life, and the beautiful space you're living in now, and the changes you've made. And you know, it's funny with access tools because it feels like you do this, and it's like, and then all of a sudden you look around and oh my gosh, it's like your life is completely different. And maybe help people a little bit through that. Like, what's that been like for you? And how has that transformation sort of being real in your life?
Oh my goodness, there seem like so many questions in that question. I love it. Yes. Well, you know, right at the very end of that question, you said, how has that been real for you? And I think that would probably be the most dynamic awareness, is that since I've been using the Access Consciousness tools, there's actually been real change. Like, that's the biggest piece. My financial situation is totally different. Who I am, you know, sometimes on the inside, you have your internal voice, you know, that you talk to yourself with. And it's like I have an entirely different me that I'm being. But what's really cool about it is that it's not someone else, it's not something else. It's actually the me that I've been seeking and trying to get to, that I always knew was possible. And now I'm actually able to live as, to live as, and to actually begin to receive myself. Because have you ever noticed that people will acknowledge and kind of reflect back to you, like the beauty of you, your capacities, your gifts, all of that stuff, and you go, oh wow, thank you. But it's not actually something that you typically receive from yourself. Not typically something that you see in yourself. And what's been really amazing about the access tools is being able to just clear away, like, all of the debris, all of the baggage, you know, that I picked up from other lifetimes, from my family, from society, to just let all of it go, let it fall away, and to be embraced, you know, with myself, with the energy and space and consciousness that I am.
You know,
and when you can receive yourself that way, your entire life is different.
I had an awareness the other day. I was looking at one of my children, and she doesn't see her beauty at all. She's in this teen year thing. And I thought about the whole thing of someone not seeing their beauty. And I thought about the years you could go through of not knowing your beauty. And the question that came up for me was like, who is that serving if you don't know your beauty? Or if you can't see it? Or if you, do you know, it was like, I had this awareness, and then it kind of freaked me out a little bit, and I started thinking about, like, why is that? Why is it? And I don't know even the right question to ask. What is it that we could talk about right now that would help those who are just deeply in resonation with this say, I get my beauty a little deeper?
Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness. I'm going to just pick up my little piece here.
That's
sometimes when my hair touches it, it makes a real crinkly sound. Well, first, like, any of the significance, that we've put on, like, acknowledging our beauty and having to know it and what that means for the world, can we just sort of let all that go and just kind of step to the side a little? And, like, how playful can we be with it? Like, we often take it so seriously. And it's like, well, it's true. Knowing our beauty and receiving our beauty and being that is a huge gift. It's a gift to us, and it's a gift to the world, and it's a gift to everyone we come in contact with. But one of the things that I've become aware of, when we put significance on something, when we put it so much meaning on it, it tends to create heaviness. And we tend to include judgment with it.
Right.
So what if we just sort of went, okay, that's one choice. What else? How else can I choose to be with this that would lighten up my universe? Because when your universe is light, when something is light for you, it's a lot easier to choose something different. Anytime we include significance and judgment, it creates a heaviness. And I know for me, and I wrote about it in the chapter, that there were years of heaviness, and I really didn't get. I was aware of that possibility of the gift that I was. I was aware of the possibility of the beauty. But it wasn't something that I was able to see. It wasn't something I was able to receive. And most of my world was very heavy, and I was using a lot of significance and a lot of judgment. Because on one hand, I knew I should know my beauty, and I should be my gift. Right? That's the right thing to do. And I locked myself up so intensely because I was making it the right thing rather than just one of the options, one of the choices that I had in my life. So what I would say to someone out there, maybe you know how beautiful you are and maybe you don't, but would you be open to the possibility of receiving the beauty of you? And what if it's going to look totally different than you think that it will?
Yeah.
What if knowing the beauty of you isn't what you think it is? And that's been one of the huge gifts of Access too, is they gave me that piece of information which I promptly threw to the side because, of course, I'm going to know how it's going to turn out, right? And then I would use the tools and things would show up totally different than I expected them to. So, I would really invite people to kind of be light about it.
Wow.
Choose it if it works for you right now, and if not, maybe you could just ask a question. Wow, what would it take to know the beauty of me?
Yeah.
And questions create. When you ask a question, the universe responds. Because what if ask and you shall receive is actually true? What if you ask and there's the request, and then the molecules and everything in the universe begin to shift and change to become what you've asked for, to become what you desire? So if you have a desire to know the beauty and the gift that you are, what if you just asked for it? What if you didn't have to include the judgment and the rightness or the wrongness of your point of view? What if you could just step aside and let all that be there and just put that question, wow, universe, show me something beautiful about me today. What would it take to know the beauty and the gift that I am?
Mm.
And then let go. Ask and you shall receive. And be willing to receive it looking totally different than you expected it to. And then when you do, acknowledge it. Because when you ask, receive, and then acknowledge it, what I've noticed for me is that things just begin to show up faster and faster.
Wow.
And the beauty of it is that when you really get the gift of you, when you really get the beauty that you are, you become that living possibility for other people to choose. So for you, Erica, with your daughter, the more that you choose to know and be and perceive and receive the beauty and the gift you are, you become a living possibility for her to choose it without ever having to say anything.
Well, and I just got shown like something she loves is taking photographs.
Yeah.
And she's been like struggling with like what are my gifts lately. And I just thought I saw myself kind of handing her a new camera. And just because she has like the one in her phone, you know. And I saw myself handing her like an actual camera and saying, please, you know, let's do inspirational things so you could take lots. Because she loves, like, if we see clouds, like, through the sunroof of the car, she'll see these celestial-looking clouds, and she'll get these astonishing photos of them. She'll catch it just at the instant, right? And it's funny because I just got that picture of handing her the camera in my mind's eye, and it felt really light and fun. Like, it wasn't like, oh, you need to know your gifts, so here's a camera. It was like, oh, what fun could we have with this, right? Like I love that. I love that concept you introduced of being playful, because I think so many times, especially with happiness too, we say, oh, I need to be happy, or I gotta work on my happiness, or I gotta take the happiness class. Darn it, you know. And there's all this like, you know, oh,
I gotta work those happiness goals. You gotta work it. It's gonna take a lot of time and practice.
I do 10 things, and I'm like, okay. Maybe just talk a little bit about that spirit of playfulness. That kind of was resonating for me.
Oh my goodness. Well, what I've noticed for me is that when I can be light and playful about something, everything is easier. I'm automatically happier. Things show up, money show up, people show up, connections show up. And, you know, the way that that shows up for me, it kind of keeps going back to some really similar things. When you stop judging you, there is a lightness and a playfulness that you are. You don't have to, like, when you know, children come into the world, we don't have to teach them how to play. We don't have to teach them to be themselves. They are who they are. And somewhere along the way, you know, I won't go into all those reasons because we could go off on a totally different tangent.
Yeah, don't do that with me. Don't do that with an ADD interviewer.
Well, it could be fun if people could follow along with us. But somewhere along the way I went, this is who I have to be to get love. This is who I have to be to fit in. This is the right way to be, and this is the wrong way to be. And that's something that in our reality is very valuable. To teach your children right from wrong. Right? It's a huge, huge piece that you know, we're all taught and we're all given. And, you know, some parents, you know, do it different. They have a different awareness. But typically that's something, even if our parents don't do it, you know, we're sort of swimming in the soup of this reality. So we start twisting and changing and remolding and shaping ourselves into what we think we should be. The good, right, and perfect child, person, woman, man, husband, wife, student, you know, all of it. And when you're twisting yourself up like that, how easy is it to be playful? Like, not so much.
Yeah.
You know, when we do that, what we require to do is judge ourselves and cut off parts of us. And it's not so easy to be light and playful.
Right.
Right? It's like, what else is possible? So that's one of the beauties of using these tools, is that it begins to help you untwist and take off and let go of those points of views that you use to sort of, mold yourself into something different than you are. And what if you don't have to learn to be playful? You don't have to learn to be you. You just let go of all the other stuff that you use to make you not you, and there you are.
Mm.
And, sometimes playful shows up different for different people. Sometimes it's bubbly and light with a lot of humor, and for some people it's different. So would you also be willing to start asking the question, gosh, what is playful for me? How do I like to play, and what would it be like, to be with you as, the playful you that you are? And you don't have to go back to when you were a kid and what you liked, although that's one of the possibilities. But what would it be like to just ask yourself right now, wow, what would be fun for me? So you brought up my horse earlier, and she's an incredible source of play, and so many other things. She's an
Yeah,
incredible companion.
I want to mention that as soon as Melanie and I got on the connection here, her horse started being seen, and I have a gift of talking to animals, and when Melanie just mentioned her, she went, "Oh, I'm so glad I'm in the conversation."
Yeah, she's always sort of right here on standby and like always ready to contribute. And what's pretty amazing is when I chose to bring her into my life, I never considered getting a horse. I really haven't ridden, only a few times in my life. I had no experience with horses. But I kept, following the whispers of energy and of everything that I was choosing, and the energy of the future that I was choosing. I had no idea what it would look like or how it would show up, but I just kept asking questions and spending time with, being in this energy of what my living dream is.
Mm.
And within a few weeks, we were together, which was such a pleasant surprise. And it's what
Wow.
I've noticed when I said things don't usually show up like you think they will. They
Yeah.
often show up better than you can have imagined.
Right.
And that's one of the things that, she is, and she is in my world. Um, Pretty amazing. We actually just did a 3-part teleclass together called Horse Whispers.
Mm.
And gosh, she challenges me, stretches me, and inspires me in every area of my life.
Wow.
She's absolutely incredible. Yeah. So for those of you who are listening, like, would you be willing to let her into your universe? Are you willing to drop your barriers and just allow her to be with you? Because she can be with you with a space of no judgment, that space of total allowance with any part of you, and especially those parts of you that maybe are difficult for you to be with, and she can show you how.
I love that concept of that feeling of communion or connectivity with another being
Yeah.
that is so love-centered and so kind-centered, and maybe just
So
share
what
with
was that
us,
last thing?
like,
Did you say
I made up,
kind?
yeah, I made up a word.
I want to hear it. I was like, what was that?
Oh, it was kind-centered.
Kind.
Kind,
I like it.
K-I-N-D, like just
Yes.
that
It's a very kind-centric relationship. Let's just
exactly.
roll with your word. Let's roll with your word. I like it. I mean, that's a reality that I would like to create. I would like to create a kind-centric world and a kind-centric reality. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Do you know, Melanie, my entire body relaxed when you said that. That was big. Do you want to do a clearing?
Yeah, sure. Are most people familiar with the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement?
Yeah, and
Is
it,
that what you're asking?
yeah, because I felt that maybe there was an opportunity to help people clear whatever's not allowing kindness in their universe, or kindness to themselves, or a more kind way of being.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting. Like, as I was speaking, I was being the energy. So, what did you notice? Did you notice you needed a clearing, or did you notice that it changed? So, one of the things I was perceiving was that people actually received it. So, it may not actually require a clearing in this moment.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt it.
And we definitely couldn't do.
Yeah, I felt it at all the levels, and I felt a little resistance to. I felt myself, what I saw. So what I saw for me was being kind, but not having people be kind to me. So I saw a pattern in my life of just expressing kindness, and always expressing kindness. Like that is like who I am. And then,
Yes.
but having trouble letting the kindness. So when you said that, I remembered all the years I had with my horse and the kindness he gave me. And that did show up for me.
So what was it like to receive kindness with your horse? Was it easy, or was it difficult?
Yeah. No, it was perfect. It was way easy. He wasn't always kind, that's funny. He got kinder as the years went by.
So, so you were breaking up a little bit. So your voice got a little bit robotic. So I didn't hear all of it. Am I coming through okay?
Yeah, we had a little freeze there. Yeah, so maybe just in those places where
There we go.
in those places where animals can share kindness, that there's that space of that.
Well, what's really interesting, what I've known with that, what I'm aware of with animals that's different, is that animals don't have a point of view. They don't have a point of view, so they're being the energy, space, and consciousness of kindness. They're being the energy, space, and consciousness of caring, but there's nothing else with it. They don't have a judgment. They don't have a judgment that kindness is good, and that, you know, caring is good, and that that's what they should be. They're just being them, right? And it's a lot easier to receive something when there's no judgment attached.
Right.
Right? So, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, gosh, you know, I'm so kind to people, but then I don't receive that kindness back. I don't get it in return. And one question I would have is, why do you need to? Not everyone's going to choose kindness. But what of you can be kindness? So we can act kindly toward people. That's one thing. And then we'll need something in return because we've just given them something that we're not actually willing to receive from ourselves or be ourselves. So we go, here, I'm gonna give some kindness to you. Now I need you to give it back so I can have some too. Rather than, I'm actually gonna choose to actually be the energy, space, and kindness that I am. Then you are it all the time. You're it with every conversation, which is the energy and the space. Yeah. And it's like you're constantly receiving it because you are it.
I felt
and then
that
people
really
can
nicely.
choose whatever they choose.
That felt really
And
good.
then we have, you're so welcome. Yeah, we have no requirement of anyone to be anything for us. When we're willing to be it for us, we don't have to place those requirements on others. And what I noticed previously when I did have that requirement of other people was that they would automatically almost go into resistance and reaction, which is what most of us do when there's a necessity or requirement placed on us.
Mm.
So anywhere that you have been, waiting for you to receive the kindness before you can actually be the kindness, will you destroy and create all of that?
Mm. Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys, and beyonds. And so the next question might be, well, how the heck do I do that? Well, for me, I was like, I have a lot of points of view about what I think kindness is, most of which are not my points of view. So what is kindness? So remember, ask and you shall receive. So I started asking universe, show me, what is kindness? What is it? And it's not a cognitive thing. I would just have the energy of it and go, this, and follow it with another question. Wow, what would it take to be this more often? What would it take to have this with me? What would it take to have this in more of my relationships? What would it take to have more of this as our part of our world? As more of our world, and part of the foundation and platform for a new reality. And what if our choosing to ask that question and have the awareness of it, when you're aware of something, you can be whatever you're aware of. So that kind world and the kindness is possible when you choose to be it. You are a walking, talking, living possibility for more people to choose it and for us to have that as our reality. So, wow, what a gift.
I'm interested in your story, so I wonder if you want to tell us a little bit more about your story, because now that we've talked all of this yummy, yummy, yummy stuff, I'm like curious to hear more of your story.
The story that I wrote in the chapter?
Would you like to share that
story?
One? Are you comfortable sharing?
Well, sure. I'm really open to sharing just about anything.
Okay, well, let's do it. In the new book, The Energy of Expansion, Melanie talks about, I'll introduce you. I'll do another introduction. I would like to introduce to you Melanie Clampit. She's an amazing author, and in this book she wrote, and she's really a great writer, and she doesn't know this about herself very well yet, but she's going to be best-selling #1 author, so pretty soon she's going to be okay with her writing gift. And in this story, she talks about something that happened that was kind of a, I think it was like a supercharged awareness showed up. So why don't you share that story with us, beautiful?
Okay, I'll do it. I'll get my little microphone. See my little, it's actually a pen. How fun is that? The butterfly and a flower. So let me tell you. No. So the story, as you can say, I like to play all the time. I don't take anything too seriously. At least that's my target. So even with this story, right? It's interesting. It isn't a story that I talked about very much. I think there was one other interview a couple of years ago that not many people listened to, where I actually talked about this story. And I think one of the reasons that I chose it was that people would put this sort of strange significance on it that would always sort of twist around in my universe. So I'm just going to start off before I even start telling the story, like any significance you'd like to put on it, and anything that wouldn't allow you to just receive the energy of it and the awareness of it for you, because I don't, share this story to sort of, tout my capacities, but to be willing to talk about the possibility of the capacities we do have, and that are available for each one of us. So goodness, I guess it was about 11 or 12 years ago now. I was at a workshop in Sedona, Arizona. And one of the things I got to at this workshop, at the end of it, I got up in the microphone in front of the class and I went, I choose to be myself. I choose to be me. anywhere and with anyone, no matter what. So, as per usual, when I make these sort of proclamations to myself, proclamations to the universe, then there seems to be something that shows up almost instantaneously that says, really? Okay, here you go. Step into it. Step into it. Are you going to choose into it or choose something else? So I got on the airplane, headed home, and they started calling for a doctor on the airplane. Now, a lot of people don't pay attention to this. They're sort of in their own worlds. I'm acutely aware of everything going on around me all the time. So I was at the back of the plane, and so I was watching, and nobody was going up. They announced it again, no one's going up. And I get this awareness. This was like, go up and put your hands on that person. And at the time, I was in therapy. I just started like opening up to the possibility that there could be some healing capacities. I'd taken one Reiki class. I'd read a little bit of A Course in Miracles, and was, doing a few other little things at the moment. But I thought, what? Get up and put my hands on that person? Like, no way. What am I going to be? What can I do? I don't know anything. What can I do? And it was just like the impulse was so strong that I had scooched up to the front of my seat, and the woman next to me went, "Miss, do you need to get up?" And I was like, no, well, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure. I just learned a little bit of hands-on healing, and I'd never actually worked on anyone before, which is pretty funny. And I said, I have the sense to go up and put my hands on whoever's up there. And it was not the answer I was expecting, but she said, well, then you should. And she got up so that I could move past her. And there was just this moment when I had to make a choice. Like, do I sit here and not do anything and just contribute whatever I could from the seat that I was in, or do I actually get up and step in and be myself? Because really that was the invitation. Will you get up and be you with whoever this is? Just get up and be you. And like, it brings emotion up in me right now to have that invitation, and to that I actually was like had the courage to get up, especially with the little tools that I had and experience I had at that time. So I got up and made my walk to the front of the plane, where they had a kind of a back and forth conversation and tried to send me back to my seat, which was not going to work for me. Like, I had just made one of the most like challenging choices to actually get up and walk all the way up and to actually say, hi, I do a little hands-on healing. Can I put my hands on this person? And it was a woman probably in her late 70s, maybe early 80s, African-American woman. She was unconscious, slumped over in the first seat. And the flight attendants really didn't know what to do. No one really knew what to do. So I just kind of stood there and waited until the window opened, and the guy was like, do whatever, just do something, basically. So I got on my knees and put my hand in the front of her and behind her, and it's like I have words now for some of what was going on that I didn't have at the time. And really what I chose in that moment was to let go of all of the definition of what I thought was possible and be the question of what's possible here to change this. And in letting go of that judgment and letting go of the preconceived ideas of what was possible, my awareness expanded. And it wasn't that it wasn't there before. I just hadn't been allowing it because of the walls of judgment and separation that I had created to keep me away from everything I was aware of. But in that moment, for this person, I was willing to let all of it go. And I reached for her with my awareness and talked to her on the level of being. And I asked her to come back to her body. And some other things started to shift in her body. And people around me got really frightened. And so there was more of an energy of demand in my universe, and I said, hey, if you're coming back to your body, you need to come back to your body now and let everybody here know you're okay. And instantaneously her eyes started fluttering and her eyes opened. And all of this was very natural. Like, there wasn't anything unusual about it. It just seemed as comfortable and as common as having a cup of coffee with a friend, in the moment of it. Because in that moment I had no point of view. I only had a desire and I had awareness. So she looks into my eyes, and one of the things she said was, "My back feels really good." And that was one of the places where I had my hand. And then she said, "Were you sitting at the back of the plane?" And it was this moment, and I just noticed an energy and a presence in her eyes that surprised me on one hand, seemed very familiar on the other. And I said, yes, I was. Someone loves you very much and they asked me to come be with you right now. And what's funny, even as I'm talking, it's the awareness of herself. Like she had, left her body. And she is the one who sought me. Because it wasn't time for her to go. She wasn't really choosing to go.
Right.
So she loved herself so much, and she asked me to just come be with her. And that's the key right now. I was just there being with her, which was amazing. So she was getting cleaned up, went to the bathroom, went back to my seat like nothing happened. Kind of like, wow, what was that? What just happened? Oh my goodness. So a little later, I went up and used the bathroom, and on my way back to my seat, a gentleman reached his hand out and stopped me, and he looked in my eyes, and there was that energy again. That same glimmer, that same consciousness. There was a presence in his eyes that was just like the presence in the woman's eyes. And he said, "Thank you so much for your courage to get up and for what you did." But as he spoke, it was more than just the personality of the man who was sitting there. It was like all of consciousness reached out, took my arm, and said, "Thank you." And then at baggage claim, someone else did it, and there was that same energy again. And as I left the airport and went into San Francisco, it was in everything. It was in the sunlight reflecting the grass and the trees. It was in the homeless person's eyes. It was everywhere. Looking back at me, and I went, wow, has this always been here? And yes, the consciousness of everything had always been there. And I was like, I never saw this before. I didn't know. And it was like everything was included. Everything was alive. Everything had consciousness and energy. And I was included. I was acknowledged. And I was at once part of it and also receiving of it. And it changed my entire reality and put me in a question of, wow, what was this? And how can I have more of it? And it's been quite a journey. Wow, yeah. So in the chapter, what I point out is, it was just probably a year or two ago when I asked, gosh, what was the miracle in this? I know that there's a miracle present. What is it? And that most people would consider when I touched the woman and she woke up and she was fine, like that would be the miracle. But when I asked the question, it was like, no. The miracles, because there really wasn't just one, was the choice to stand up and be me, no matter what. And the awareness. Like the awareness that we have, the awareness that we are a living miracle. And like that was the miracle, the choice and the awareness. And when we're willing to choose, and we're willing to choose to be with all of our awareness without the need to separate from any of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, we can be with all of it, then life is a miracle. Because I believe, from my point of view, it isn't a belief, what I know is that it's possible to have a world of miracles. And that each one of you listening, if this resonates with you in any way, that you also are a miracle. And maybe you've known it, but you haven't known how to be it. And that's one of the reasons I'm so grateful for the Access Consciousness tools, because it's the one thing of everything that I've tried over 13 years that actually worked to allow me to be the space of this that I'm talking about and to begin to actually live with the awareness of, again, consciousness, the glimmer of the energy space of consciousness, to be a part of my everyday life, which was what I asked for after that moment. So that's the story.
I love it. And it feels full circle since we started today on the gift you be. And that's sort of like, if you know you're different, you stand out, that your creativity is different, that when you walk in the store, you're happier and bouncier and crazier than some of the other people around you. And it's that being like, yes, like being a yes to yourself, that kind of shows up for me. And that was just so beautiful. And I got moved and I cried. And I'm so joyful that you exist, Melanie. You moved me to happy tears, so thank you for that. And in that space of emotion, maybe just let us know how we can work with you further, how we can find you. Tell us a little bit about your radio show and just kind of how we can play with you more.
Wonderful. Well, at the moment, my whole world is changing, and so is my website. So it's not completely updated right now. It will be very soon. Maybe by the time you actually hear this interview, that it will be complete. But you can find me at melanieclampit.com. And you can email me at melanieclampit@gmail.com. So I do individual sessions, so people who might, if you have something in your life, in your world you really like to target and change, working with me, one-on-one is a wonderful way to do that. Even if it's just 2 or 3 sessions to kind of get under something and kind of, pop it out. I facilitate Access Consciousness classes, which I'll have up on the website as well. And some really fun ways to connect. That's not a session or a class. If it's not something that you're ready for right now, I do have a Blog Talk radio show that I co-host with my playful partner in co-creating a new beautiful magical reality, Celia Puentes. And we have the Colors of Infinite Possibilities radio. And we share some of the Access Consciousness tools there. And we just show up, we be us, we be irreverent, we, be light, and we just are there to invite you to that playful space of possibilities and to give you tools and maybe ask questions that you wouldn't have considered before that can give you access to more of the infinite colors of infinite possibility you have available to you.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming today.
Oh my goodness! Thank you so much for the invitation, Erica, and for reaching out and inviting me to this the incredible journey of being co-author in a book that's being published. I'm just thrilled. And there are other possibilities for writing that are showing up in my universe, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? How? Wait, what? How did this show up? What? So you definitely opened a door that I wasn't expecting to be opened. So I am so grateful on so many different levels, and so grateful for everyone who's here with us, listening and choosing everything that you are choosing and everything that you're being. You matter, and you, no matter what point of view you might have right now, are making a difference, and you are a living possibility. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.